that's the thing that I can't do naturally. Like I just, I don't really come from a super well-connected family, like with one another. I mean,
Right.
Just didn't really have close ties with humans.
Yeah.
So like, I'm learning a lot about like family and what matters in life.
Yeah.
It's no surprise that I invent things and then make them seem important. Like, I don't come from connections. I come from like my own thoughts and pain, and that's what you do to like, fucking work through it. I guess it's
Yeah.
your own therapy and making sense of the world and blah blah blah. So like, yeah, I feel very fortunate to have a counter half or a partner who she comes from a very like natural and like loving family.
Dystopia tonight. Dystopia tonight.
Hey guys, what's going on? We're here live with Jonathan Russell, the lead singer of Head and the Heart. What's going on, man? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, dude. I always forget the end of that intro. Like I should probably warn people that are coming on for the first. You seem pretty chill. You seem pretty relaxed though. Like you're not like gonna try to throw you off. We've definitely had some guests that are like slightly older who are just like, "What did I just get myself?
What did I sign up for?"
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, "Oh, it's kind of fun." It was like I threw everything that was happening during the pandemic into that one intro, and like,
yeah, I can't believe that all of those things happened in the last 2 years or 2.5 years or whatever, or maybe not all. I may have zoned out during some of it, I will admit. But a lot of it watching, and I was just like, "Wow, that's dark. Yeah, that's dark. Damn, that was really dark." Like, oh yeah, that just happened. Like and while we weren't doing our typical lane, which makes us feel centered and useful and having a purpose, it's like, cool. Let's just turn the world sweater inside out and see what happens.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Yeah, it is kind of weird, man, because I have definite blocks on periods of time where shit happened because of just whatever mental state I happened to be in during the pandemic. Like that was just,
Right.
yeah. And also, like, did you wind up getting COVID?
I did. Yeah, I got it last December.
Oh my
Like
God.
right around Christmas, 2 days before Christmas.
Oh,
It's a gift I gave to myself and my wife, and then my mother-in-law.
Oh my God.
And yeah.
Yeah. No, same thing happened to me. I wound up getting it. Like, I wound up being super like I managed to avoid it the whole fucking time, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then Omicron like literally kicked the shit out of me, and I was just like, oh, Reeve. Yeah. And it didn't help with the fact I'm one of those people that like I got it and I thought of all the debaucherous shit I could have been doing. Like, man, I could have been at the clubs and just fucking gotten it.
I never really know where to go with this topic because I straddle. So like my wife's family's from the West Coast and I'm from Virginia. And you can imagine in my California and West Coast, she's in the Bay Area. So it's an incredibly progressive city and state. And then I'm from Virginia, which has its moments. In either way you want to take that. And it was a really interesting sort of pendulum swing when I would sort of risk going home to see my mom, who was going through some things that I needed to be there to help her with.
Yeah.
But the irony was like every time I'm doing this, I'm getting on an airplane and like, I know you're not going to like, my mom's not going to like give me 3 days until she hugs me. And like, I'm going to travel over here and just fingers crossed, I'm not bringing in some virus that's going to put you down. Don't really know where I'm going with that, other than the fact that like it was easier. I guess it was somewhat easier when you're in one city and it's like I know the typical the relative temperature on like how to discuss this in this city. Like you kind of get a feel for a city, like how we're all approaching this, and it's like okay, like. When do you slide in a joke if you were willing to do that, or if it's just not on the table at all? Anyways, I don't.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean though.
It
was confusing as hell because like I dealt with the same thing with like family members and stuff like that, and like even like it took me some time to even like get like even doing everything like, you know, kind of following what was going on and what you were supposed to be doing. You did just get to a point where you were so fucking frustrated not seeing your friends, your family, that you were like, like you just kind of I double checked with other people. I was like, hey, I just want you to know I did this, this, and this. Are you good to hug and meet? Or you know, and it was weird too, because I think the first time we all decided to do that, like I probably hugged my like friends way longer than we've ever been, you know, in contact with each other in our lives.
Right.
Like
Right.
it was definitely weird.
Yeah.
And even going back out and touring, like, were you guys like pumped when you like what was the transition for that like? Because did you try to do the streaming stuff? I didn't catch any of that. Like,
I mean, for sure, yeah, there was definitely like, there was quite a bit of like, there were a lot of like, gosh, what's the word? Like fundraisers.
oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
you know, where several artists would sort of get on and stream and try and raise some money for supplies and money, and we did a similar thing for like our crew that was, you know, getting hit harder than financially speaking than we were,
yeah,
just by the nature of things. And so we were sort of doing that quite a bit, I'd say, for the first 6 months. One thing that you kind of get used to doing when you have when you're, I guess, fortunate enough to be in the annoying position to do radio promo, which is like a good problem to have, but it's also like, you know,
right,
it's the you want to kick when you're on tour. It's like, I gotta hate something, I'm gonna hate this. So
yeah,
so that just sort of pivoted over to like, oh yeah, like we're still doing radio. It's just, it's now you're your own film crew, you're your own sound guy, you're doing your songs,
yeah,
and please be sober. And it's like, sure, what could go wrong on any of those things?
sure,
So that was interesting. And you know, I think like most people, you did what you could, and from some of that, I think, case in point, where what you have discovered and created for yourself here, there were some silver linings where you're like, oh, some of the pivoting works sort of for you, like where your life is moving, and
yeah,
maybe this is actually, there's a positive in here somewhere, you know. I was 34, I guess, when in 2019 when we did our last tour, and then now I'm 37, and you know, I don't know if it's because of what those 2.5 years the world went through, or if it's just the difference between 34 and 37, but it feels like I died and came back an old man.
I
It
love
is
it.
like,
We're the
how did
same
it
age.
happen so quickly? Are we? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel you, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to me, but I'm very picky and choosy about now what I'm doing and where I'm going,
Yeah.
and it does feel, yeah, it does feel like I've aged like drastically.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it
you
could be
look phenomenal.
37. I don't know. That's my first. It's our first time being
Yeah.
37, so who knows?
Yeah. I mean, same, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know if you want to get into past lives, but um
It takes a completely different direction now. We're like, actually, a chime rings.
actually, I've got some theories.
I used to be a
um
chair. No, I'm just,
yeah.
I don't know.
It was a desk, but um yeah, I mean, it's like in a thing where when you're, I think we started this band when I was like 24.
Mm,
So 24 to 34, like you're feeling pretty immortal, you know what I
yeah.
mean? You don't even consider what happens when like skinny jeans look wrong on you, and what do you do to pivot? And like, do you just go with the flow? Do you just exercise a little harder? Do you just face the facts and like try something baggier? I mean, this sounds like really like shallow, insignificant shit. But I'm not gonna lie to you. I stand in the middle and the front of the stage, which means I'm the front man,
Hmm.
and these fucking things cross your mind,
Yep. No,
right?
I hear you, man. I get it.
Because like those kids, there's always kids behind you
Yeah.
come up. They look amazing.
Oh,
Instagram looking amazing all of the time. So
yeah.
like you can't help but be like, cool, 37 coming back, and now, and you know,
Yep.
I just, in thinking of the transitioning back onto tour, I think it's still somewhat of a transition. We came back in May of this year. We've done 2 legs so far. We've got a third coming
Nice.
up in 3 days. And one thing I realized pretty quickly was like, oh shit, like I have a little bit of anxiety now because I've had 2.5 years to like think about what it is that I do for a living, which I never had time to think about.
Right.
Some good, some bad. I think the perspective I got and the appreciation I've gained, not that I didn't have any appreciation for it beforehand, but the amount of that I gained even further, was great. But like the awareness of walking back on the stage after 2.5 years was just like 5,000 people staring at 6 people. This is odd.
Right.
Like this is odd. It is odd.
Yep.
But I was like, but I don't want to like revert back to like being 26 and just being like, well, I'll just like have some beers on stage to like feel a little more confident. Because I've learned that over the 12 years of doing this, like you're better when you can like try those really risky maneuvers and actually fucking land them. You've got to be clear headed, and you remember and you improve the following night because you're clear headed. So I was like, I don't want to do that. And I started working out before shows. This is all kind of happening over the last few months. And just for me, that's kind of been a really big, like, I guess, fork in the road or whatever you want to call it, of just realizing like, oh, okay, like, Mick Jagger, he's doing yoga now. He's not doing blow in the bathroom before he go on for 70,000 people. He's doing fucking yoga, and probably has been for a while. And it's like, got it. Okay. Healthiness.
Right.
And that was just a really big, mental freedom to do. And I now it's almost like my, I don't know if I'm superstitious or not. Maybe I am, because I guess I would know if I wasn't. But so if I don't like work out before a concert, I feel a little like paranoid that I'm gonna get up there and realize like, oh, this is weird. Like,
yeah, man. No, that makes sense, man. We've all that kind of stuff that keeps us centered. Especially, I understand I've cut back on drinking significantly because it doesn't feel the same, and no matter how much I think I tried to fight, like no, it's just a bad night. Like I did not feel the same. But it really doesn't anymore, and it's not conducive to like creativity or even having a good time, man. But I hear myself and I'm like, God, you fucking suck. Like, like what happened? Like, but you're right, man. You see, if you think about longevity,
what's that? I gotta go. I'm so sorry.
No, it's so true though. It is. You're like, oh God.
No, I mean, I hear you too. Like, because I'm not. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I find times where it makes sense for me to like enjoy wine or get drunk or whatever it is. But like, it's just about my craft where I used to be able to. And let's also like the pressures have changed. Lengths of sets. We're now headlining. There's 5 records. I'm singing like 3.5 octaves now.
Right.
Like an asshole. Like just keep expanding it every fucking record. I'm like, what if we went higher? Like, why are you doing that to yourself, John?
Right.
But I have over the course of 12 years. And so like, it's just how you evolve. And hopefully we're all getting better at our crafts and continuing to being inspiring for those behind us and maybe ahead of us, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you're 27 and your set's 30 minutes, dude, go have your shot and a beer before you walk on stage.
Yeah.
You do you, like whatever makes you feel like you deserve to be on that stage, whatever form of art it is. More power to you. Right now for me, it's like, it's a fucking rowing machine.
Oh yeah.
Stretchy bands, you know what I mean? So that's where I'm at.
And there's something kind of powerful though about realizing it and knowing it too, where you can, I mean, maybe in the beginning when you're trying to figure that out and you're just realizing it, it still feels like it's kind of wobbly, uneasy. But once you've like you said, you've made that decision, like you work out before the show, you understand, you're centered, like you do find your level of confidence for doing that kind of shit set. You know what I mean? Like you're like, okay, like you just said, the younger guys are going to do that kind of thing. That's where they're at. They can enjoy that, but I'm enjoying it in this way now. And it's better for me creatively and also physically. Do you feel like your creative process changed at all because I know like you said, you've been experimenting with a couple different things, you're going octaves higher, but like, how has it maybe changed the way you thought of how you make music and create it?
I feel like personally, like when I sort of imagine in these like revolutions or circles of like creative processes. Like, so we just put this record out. When did we put our record out? Was it in April?
I
think our record
Every Shade of Blue, right?
Yeah.
That was I think April 2022 it came out.
Yeah. So this year, and so like I spent probably the last 3 years writing, for this record and recording this record. And to me, like that, like the tide is out now. Like I'm not going to expect it to be in. It is out. So I don't even think about myself as a creator right now. It's like I'm much more of a I get on stage, like I perform now. I'm a performer.
Yeah.
Because like if I try and sit down and write a song right now, it's not going to come, and I'm going to start thinking it's for X, Y, and Z reasons. But this has happened since I was 18. So I kind of like pivot out of like, so I guess I'm babbling here. To answer your question, I haven't really re-entered like creative process since I've kind of been on this health kick, and hopefully it's not just a health kick. Hopefully it's like, if I want to remain happy and healthy, I have to do a little more than I did when I was 27. So, but I will say that one thing that I and the total opposite pendulum swing during the pandemic. One thing that we did collectively as band members who were spread out all over the country was sort of take the budget that was set aside from the label for like traveling, a producer, hotels, studio costs. We were like, well, that's gone. Let's divvy that up into 6 individuals to get somewhat of a uniform set of microphones. Everybody's got a nice laptop that works now. Everyone's on Logic. So there was a sort of an interface literally and process that we could all sort of rely on. And so everyone kind of became their own little satellite studio. And I'm not, as we also know in that time, musicians aren't traveling. They're not going on stage. So like I'm home a lot. I don't have anything to show up for other than like something that I'm going to set for myself that day. So like my creative process got pretty dark. I mean, it's like, there's no point in like waiting until 6 p.m. to start having a cocktail.
Right.
If your whole objective is to throw paint at a wall, figuratively speaking, and then make something out of it. So like, I mean, I was left, right, up, down, inside out. Like I've come out of like just the lack of bumpers, the lack of like boundaries. So the creative process was pretty loosey-goosey during the pandemic. And, I hear our record, this record, especially, I think right now it's like, 16 songs or something like that. It's going to be even like, we've got a few more that we're going to try and get out there as well.
Oh, nice.
And it's like, it's so, I mean, it's maybe the most, it's ambitious, but it's also like, we wanted to release the entire mess. Like there's some songs that are very slick and very pop and very produced, and there's other songs that are like, I recorded in my kitchen in Virginia, and I can hear like the chair squeaking, and like they're super loose. The whole gamut is on this record. But like, I guess I can hear what I was going through and what I was experimenting with in this album. And now that I'm sort of much more cleaned up and like deciding to look good, feel good, and go on stage and be a much more respectable citizen of the world.
Yeah.
I'm much more like aware of like what I had to, or what I thought I had to do to get to some of those places. And I don't know that I want to do that again.
No,
that's a very beating around the bush way of, not having me so on the nose of certain things that went on, behind closed doors. But like, I do look forward to like, instead of searching on your own in your own little void of a studio to just look for inspiration, I can't wait to get back into a room with the 5 other humans that are in this band, and just let real energy respond to one another. Like, I don't know, when I'm not that familiar with like comedian's process of like creating material. I'm guessing you sort of need some sort of reaction for your initiation, right? Like, if something's working, was it the timing, or is it a word that you can shift or whatever? But without the process, like you're sort of, I don't know. I don't want to be presumptuous, but like, I guess to me, I sort of try to create an audience. I try to create a process synthetically, and I don't really want to have to do that again.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, I mean, if there's a benefit to, there's benefits to coming out of this thing and all that other shit, but it's cool that you kind of feel that camaraderie and still comfort with the other people that you were being creative with. Like now, for sure that's exactly the way you want to run things, which is a benefit to it. And the other thing about the health thing too, I want to go back to that too, because that's really important. Do you find, because I know you said it was a health kick and you hope it's not a health kick. I find myself struggling with the same thing where, do you find it hard to convince yourself, like, even though you know when you do A, B, C, and D, physically and mentally you feel better, but there's still that, like, I have constant arguments with my own brain where I will be like, no, I don't want soda. I'm going to have this. And my brain goes, who the fuck are you to tell you not to have soda? And I'm just like, what? Where did that come from? But I do struggle with, like, like, where did that come from? It's hard.
Yeah. I mean, so I've had 10 days off the road since the last tour ended, and it ended on the West Coast. My family's on the West Coast, so I've just kind of been like parked myself here in between the two tours. And so I've kind of just been on vacation mode a little bit because it's not my home, like living out of a suitcase, but it's like my mother-in-law's house, so it's nice. I'm not like in a hotel. But in terms of the very strong regiment that I had on tour, where I was really holding myself accountable, and it made it so much easier to, like, I didn't feel like I had to like commit to something. It just like felt natural to, like, hey, at 5:30, I'm gonna do my workout and I'm gonna eat and then I'm gonna go on stage.
Right.
You remove the going on stage part, and there's like no longer the event, there's no longer the arena, there's no longer the, like, hey, if I don't at least sweat a little before I go on, I can't sing that note. And if I can't sing that note, then I feel like a chump on stage. All of that goes away, and then all of a sudden and then I'm talking to myself a lot more about, like, hey, do I have the soda or not? It's like, well,
yeah,
like who cares if you feel a little like chunky? You're not going on stage. So like for the last 8 days, I've just been like, I'll get it tomorrow.
Yep. No, I do the same.
Today was like though, so I like all of a sudden it's like, hey, 5:30. I'm on the West Coast right now.
Yeah.
5:30, you have a thing, and like I worked out today. Like so, what I guess I'm realizing is, like, and what I guess I always hear, it's like, it's less about like willpower, more about routine.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I need to figure out how to convince myself, whatever that little variable is or goal at the end of the day on tour, what is that for me at home? Because it's like, oh, cool. Like, so when my wife sees me and I'm not on tour, like, it's like, yay, another burger. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how I want to live my life for her or for myself. So like, I need to find the consistency in how to replace that goal. I think it's kind of where I'm realizing is
they say it's like they say it's like 82. I got a guy who's a health and fitness advisor and I've known him forever, and he's super great, and he always gives me great advice for this kind of stuff, and we've been like working out together, but he basically said it's like 80-20. If you can eat well 80% of the time, you can kind of do shitty 20% of the time, and that's when you're out with your friends or your buddies or you're going out afterward. And I try to stick to that.
That's really helpful. I'm not doing that, but lately I will.
I hear you.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
The other funny thing is too, is I do the same kind of thing where, like, if I know a gig's coming up, I'm in my head, I'm like, okay, if I like, it's one of those things where, like, I know, like, the same thing where you can sing, you know what I mean? Like, you can do it, you can play the instrument, you've done this, we've been doing this for a long time. But I'll go, you know what? I know this gig's coming up. If I start doing this now, I'll be fucking flawless. I'll feel good. And but it's hard to convince other people around you to, like, I swear to God, anytime I change my eating habits, I think my friends think I'm just sick. They're like, yeah, he's not feeling too good. He's not indulging in in a 4 burgers and M&Ms and all that shit. But
it's almost like a letdown sometimes, and I think that's the hard part about, like, I mean, my lifestyle, because of my work, it is inevitably extreme. So when I'm around people who haven't seen me in, like, I don't know, 3 months, it's like, we're at like, hey, we're grilling out today. Like, why aren't you gonna, like, have 6 beers and eat a burger and 2 hot dogs and Lay's chips with me? I'm like,
right.
I know, but like, I could essentially do this every day for the next 8 days and finally catch up with all my friends I haven't seen.
Yes.
And then, do you want me to do that? Like, I don't think you do.
Right.
But a little part of me is just kind of like, I'm letting down the guys,
Me too.
Letting down my brother. It's like, So it's like, oh, John showed up with like veggie dogs. Like, oh, he's married now. He's married. He's eating veggies. It's like,
I did the same thing, man. I did the right thing, but I felt like such a fucking, like, because, like, I went out with friends and I wanted the appetizer and the platter and all this other shit, and, like, and I love the company and I enjoyed the conversation, but I ordered like salmon And I thought, you fucking lose. Like, you nothing. You, like, everybody's got this fun shit. And I'm just like, oh, all right, you know, like this, you know, oh, I was like, God. But I also know that, like, again, we're both 37. And I always, you know, like, I know I cannot just go for a bike ride after I eat that shit and be fine, which I used to be able to. I used to be able to go, I'm going to eat this and then I'll just bike 10 miles and come back and boom, it'll be good. No, I feel like worse. Like my heart's like, you find yourself like breathing heavy randomly. This is probably, I should go to the doctor, but like
No,
we're gonna find out after this. But like, I'll eat like normal shit, and I'm like, oh fuck, am I slowing down? Like, what's going on here? Like,
it's like, I feel you.
It's brutal, man.
Wait, where do you live, or where are you like working out of? Or
I'm in Long Beach Island, New Jersey.
Okay, cool. You are. I figured you seemed New York area.
Yeah. I was born in Brooklyn. I lived in New York. Yeah.
My follow-up question is, why this time of day, and does it have anything to do with tennis?
No, I like tennis. This time of day because I actually don't. Okay, so I'll tell you right now. It's a good question because my buddy and I, he co-produces, usually runs the background shit. We were literally talking about, should we change the time of day? And I picked 8:30 originally during the pandemic because nobody had anything to do at night anymore. So we were just like, you know, everybody was, it would get to be around that time where performers, like, that's when like I should be on stage right now. So I would do this to supplement it. But now it's like, we're all out anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I just try not to do it on the weekends. But then I also thought, because I'm always thinking ahead, like, oh, I kind of want this to be like a thing. And if I go to sell it, or if I go to pitch it as like a streaming thing or whatever, I want to show that I can do a live taping of a thing consistently every night at 8:30.
Yeah.
And then, you know.
Yeah. My brain was thinking much smaller because I very recently got into tennis, like,
oh, nice.
Or started enjoying watching tennis, I should say. I still don't really know how to play tennis.
Yeah.
We'll see about that.
I'm in the same boat where I played with like friends who were like one of my good friends was like a college pro, and she would be like, come on, we're going to go play tennis. And I mean, you mean you're going to humiliate me in front of, but it's a great practice.
The few times I've ever tried it, it's like, you don't even want me to like, if anything, just have me collect your balls, because my return is fucking over the fence almost every time.
Right.
So how many balls do you have before you invite me? But that was before. Now I'm like, I guess why I'm asking was because there was this big Rafa Nadal and Francis. What's his last name? Dude just knocked out Nadal.
I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Like, that's. I mean, I'm probably getting hate mail as we do this, but like the dude who just beat him, Francis Triafa.
Yeah, something like that. I know, man. It's on the tip of my tongue too.
I was thankful for the timing because I got to watch the full match or match.
Oh, nice. It's I do like watching it and stuff like that too. I kind of, now that you said that though, like I kind of wish it was something cool like that, where I was like, yeah, man, it's for sports, for tennis stuff, and I'm just like,
I'm not budging. Like, I'm watching this match and then I'm inviting him on. I mean, that's kind of where my brain was. I was like, yeah, I respect that. I'm like,
yeah,
I just happen to be into the same thing he's into right now, which is kind of cool.
I'll edit it in post and make it look like we're both like, tennis. That's exactly what it's for.
Yeah.
Instead of something. No, it's good, man. I like that kind of. It is. I love watching that kind of shit. It's very interesting right now too, especially with like Serena and everything going on. Like, that is like monumental moments, man.
Yeah,
she's amazing.
It seems like the first time we're like, I mean, people from America again, but also just like a younger generation is finally breaking through that power through.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm so new to like discovering the beauty and art of tennis. Like, I don't want to keep. I don't know how much more I could go back and forth about this topic with you, or if with you, but from what I'm learning very briefly and recently, it's like, wow, there's a lot of nuance to it that I never saw.
Yeah.
Same thing with basketball, actually. I feel like there, again, like the pandemic and being around my wife, who was much more of a natural athlete in her life growing up, with like team sports. I was like skateboarder. I would run. Everything. No, I didn't do anything with other people.
Right. Yeah, man. I used to run too. Just run track.
Yeah. So like, I learned a lot about these things that I would always see, on TV at bars, sports, and never really understand like like, you know, that moment where like you can just tell everybody at the bar but you is like, now's the time to pay attention. And I look at the screen, I'm like, it looks just like the other fucking 29 minutes that I've been staring at it. Like, what's happening?
Yep.
So I finally had time enough to be around and my wife like play basketball and just knows shit about sports. And I was just like, as soon as I learned that, I was just like, fuck me, this game is amazing. I love watching football now. I love watching tennis now. Things that I never. Again, god damn it, we're just 37. Is this just a show about 37?
I hear you, man. It's the same
this
way.
Episode
like,
is just, hey, we're 37.
We're just that's what I'm gonna title it. Two Johns who are 37. That's it.
Yeah, 2 Johns. 37.
Yeah. It's people are gonna think it's like some weird like fucking like 2 girls 1 cup shit. Like like, oh, do we want to click on that? But I feel the same way. You know, it's crazy. I've learned that I really like things I didn't think I like. I find if I'm with somebody whose enthusiasm can carry me through it, I then find an appreciation for it.
Yeah. Although, never mind, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Yeah, totally.
Oh man, now I got to know. This is
the one thing that I'm still struggling with is baseball.
Oh, baseball's boring as shit.
Yeah, like and that's even going to games like. So on days off on tour, they're between the band and crew. There's generally about 12 to 14 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so like sometimes it's a day off and we're in a city and it's like nobody really cares if it's their team. You just want to go like beers, eat hot dogs and peanuts, whatever.
Yep.
And I'm like, cool. Sometimes I'm just excited because it's like, oh, look at us all like, you know, there's no hierarchy. Like no one's anybody's boss here. We're just at a game.
Yeah.
Getting loose, you know. But the minute I like, and then other times when I'm there, I'm like actually trying to follow the fucking sport. I'm just like, what the fuck? I can't. And people will be telling me, so like I'm by very enthusiastic fucking baseball fans, and I'm like, no. If anything, it pushes me further away from wanting to get into it. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, it's the one sport that I haven't been able to like just crack the code yet.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I enjoy it when everybody's like, I like going to a game. I've tried to sit with people and watch one of the games, and I could give a fuck less. I'm just like, what is happening? You lost me. I don't even, and I feel like I'm not stupid, but when people explain it to me, I'm like, what am I missing?
Yeah, I'm not picking it up very quickly. And to me, it's just like, if I'm not on like a corner seat where I can get in and out and like buy beers or get a hot dog without having to climb over 7 people, like I'm really not having a good time.
Same. Absolutely. I got to walk around. I got to be able to stretch my legs. You know, I even like running. I've run into people that I've known, and it's like, I'm like, what's up? And like, you know, but like, and that's a highlight.
You're over there. I'm like, you're in the middle. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, it's behind it. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
I'm up there, right in the corner. I'm good.
Yeah. They'll be like, did you see that hit? I'm like, I just saw Steve. You guys see he's up there getting
he's up there, right?
Yeah, he's getting up there getting a sundae and a hat.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's my other problem is I'm learning loyalty. Like I love color, I love graphic. So we'll be in like somewhere in fucking Ohio, and I'm just like Cleveland hat, you know?
Yeah.
And there's some people in my band who are like, yo, you can't just rock a fucking Cleveland hat and like, they just get so offended. Or like, oh, LA Dodgers, and it's like, you live in or like, I don't know. I'm learning that it's not, you can't be like, oh, I like this color and graphic. Like, it really means a lot to people. And I'm so sorry to all of those people cringing right now about like, yeah, no shit. But man. I just didn't grow up going to sports or concerts. That's also a weird thing. Like, I don't know what fans are doing.
Wait, so what was your first concert?
I did go to a show with my mom one time. It was like my mom and I think my cousin or something. It was fucking it was either Kansas or Chicago, and it was
nice.
Out doing Florida.
That's a parent concert.
Yeah, like I didn't enjoy it. I was probably 12 or 11 or some shit, and like fucking hated it. But
my first concert was also with my mom, and I think it was before they got divorced. I think it was my dad. We went to see the we went to see the Beach Boys.
Same age.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the exact same tour.
Absolutely, yeah. We went to see the Beach Boys at Six Flags.
Oh, that's cool, at least.
Yeah, and but like for me at that same thing, at that age, I was like, who gives a fuck? But now I'm like, oh, that was awesome. My friend and I literally. So I went to I had Glenn Phillips from Toad the Red Spocket on, and we become like buddies or whatever. And then I've had Scott Hessel from the Gym Blossoms, and they were like, oh, we're on tour, we're going to be in New York, why don't you come? We're the Bare Naked Ladies. So I got to go and hang out and like just do whatever. But I brought one of my best friends, and she and I were walking together, and she goes, you do realize that we're the same age our parents were when they would go like, hey, we're going to go see Chicago. Like literally her words, like, we're going to go see Chicago. And I went, why the fuck did you just say that? I was like, what in God's name is wrong with you? And it was a blast though, by the way. But like, I was like, oh my God, they're right. These are the guys we grew up listening to.
Yeah.
When we were, school dance, like young in the car, like the whole thing. And it blew me the fuck away.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's just,
do you have kids?
I don't. Do you?
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, I feel like well, at least you're married, right?
I'm married. Yeah, I got married a year ago.
Not married. I got nothing. I was dating before the pandemic, and now I didn't. And I feel like I broke up beforehand, which I felt like was a huge mistake. Because I was like when it happened, I was like, do we still want to be in each other's circles, or like, is that a thing? Or and now I'm like, I'm super, I'm back. I didn't realize how fucking like weird it is to not know people or be able to make new like I try not to date anybody that's in my business. As a comic, I've never dated another comedian because I thought, let's just avoid that fucking shitstorm, right?
Yeah. Even musician to musician, I definitely had that like fantasy or assumption that it would be the coolest,
right?
For me personally, like I've seen it work for certain people,
sure,
but I think that I have much more of an ego than any of those two people in that relationship. I'm like, I have the ego the size of both of you combined, like so like it's fine, like I have room for another ego, but it can't be about the same fucking thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you need to be great at something else. I need to convince myself that I'm the greatest at this thing. And we need to back each other up on those things. So, like,
yes, exactly. Do you also feel like as much as I love comedy and being in the entertainment industry and doing all that kind of shit, I really do feel like I would want to be with somebody who could take me out of it if I needed to be taken out of it, and not because I feel like if it's too much on my own sometimes, where I'm just like, I'm in this thing, you're cranking on your career like 24/7, no break. So I feel like to have two people doing it, holy shit.
Right.
Like maybe there's a benefit, but also I don't know.
You're constantly almost doing the same race. Like it's like, God damn, we like just pull over for a little while. Yeah, I think my wife is not in music. She's a creative individual. She loves what she does, and will like knock me off any high horse in an instant. So like it's beautiful. It's exactly what. Because like, I say I have a big ego. I probably do, but I don't think I'm like an egomaniac by any means. But like, it's easy for an art, I think, any creative to, especially when you're in like, for me, the writing period of my little circle, my revolution thing that I brought up a little while ago. Like, if I'm in that stage and I'm like, hey, there might only be one fish today, so I'm not leaving until I catch that fucking fish.
Yeah.
Like, I know I said be back at 6, but like it's midnight and I still haven't caught that fucking fish. So like, guess where I'm at? I'm not going home yet. So when I'm in that phase, it's like it can be you can run away with what might seem like an ego, but it's also just like, I don't know. Doesn't that make me like a hard worker or something?
Yeah.
Like I'm there to also like, I need to.
It's what makes the albums good. It's what makes you successful.
Yeah. So there's a thin line, I think, between like, I don't know, work ethic, but you need to be here right now with me and my family and your family and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, thank you. Yes. Like that's the thing that I can't do naturally. Like I just, I don't really come from a super well-connected family, like with one another. I mean,
right.
Just didn't really have close ties with humans.
Yeah.
So like, I'm learning a lot about like family and what matters in life. It's no surprise that I invent things and then make them seem important. Like I don't come from connections. I come from like my own thoughts and pain, and that's what you do to like, fucking work through it, I guess. It's therapy and making sense of the world and blah, blah, blah. So like, yeah, I feel very fortunate to have a counter half or a partner who, she comes from a very like natural and like loving family, and like a blast to be around, and it's a large family, and like I'm like, whoa, it's all of a sudden there's something to choose. There's something that for once feels equally, and I know I should say more, but I actually only mean equally as important as art.
Dude, I know
You know
but
what I mean?
that's a great balance and place to get to though too, because I feel like I did have, so my family's pretty, like my family's broken up basically into like my mom's family was a decent size, and but my dad's family's huge, and and I just grew up around a lot of people. And
Yeah,
I think I still kind of have that in me, even though I did find my own individuality through it. So I'm like,
yeah,
I'm this weird mix of like, I can absolutely, took me a little bit, but I can absolutely be alone. I don't think it's a good idea. I think I've proven it's a very bad idea for long periods of time in several ways. But
yeah.
like, I do know what you mean when you find like, I very much enjoy anybody's normalcy kind of washing over me, because it gives you this
Hmm.
calming effect, a little bit of perspective, and maybe it does. I think it helps you even grow as an artist too. Like it's a tough thing to balance out.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, like, so neither of us have children. We've
Mhm.
discussed that. My wife's sister, who lives like 20 minutes from where I'm at now, she's got a almost a 2-year old. And we were over there last night, and like it was bath time, and and my sister-in-law was just kind of like, hey, like, how do you feel about like just making up a little jingle while like Piper is in the bath? So like she's kind of like, she was overly stimulated because we had all this
Sure.
family over, and like so it's like all of a sudden it's 8:30, and she's just like, I got another 2 hours in me, fuckers. And we're like, well, you shouldn't. So let's figure this out.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, like why not? So I ended up like within an hour between like the bath time and then like that didn't work. So now we're in the living room just trying to like get her to like get tired. I'm just like,
Mhm.
for the very first time in maybe a long time, or if not ever, like there was no room for this or even reason for or time for this like sometimes esoteric like bullshit route I'm gonna go on as a writer to like show
Right.
what I've learned and what I've observed. It's like, no, 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 there's a fucking 2-year-old. She needs to get tired.
Right.
Get her tired. Starting point, ending point. This is backwards. Anyways, so it's like within like an hour, I was just like, yo, this is a dope ass like nursery rhyme thing. It just
Oh,
to
nice.
have an end point. And I know I look how I made this about me, but like I guess what you were saying about like the counterbalance and how it sometimes can even make you a better artist. It's like I wonder if that's my next phase of just realizing like live your life with purpose, and you're
Mhm.
going to see things and do things that are meaningful, and by extension of just what you do naturally, you're going to create art in those periods. Like,
Yes.
I don't need to go to Spain and see a bullfight to like write my next novel. I mean, God bless
Right.
you. But like apparently I can also just hang out with my niece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, that was maybe the most honest thing I've said in 10 years, and it took me 20 minutes because
Right.
I'm looking at the thing that just needs the thing. Like
Yeah.
I, I don't know if that makes any sense, but like
It
there's
totally
something
does.
very, it's kind of reassuring because I want to continue on this like being present and being with family, being healthy path, but I also have over a decade experience of like experimenting with drugs and like going off on my own path and coming back with a vision,
Yep.
and that worked, and it it got me here, but like can I let that go? Like I bet everybody around me would love it if I did. you know so
Right.
I guess, yeah, the Piper song, I was just like, huh, that's
Yeah.
relieving to know.
That's
Like,
beautiful though. And I think you're right, man. I think it can be let go, and I think it's just it's the same thing about like the with the soda thing, where you're just like you got to fight your dumb inner voice of going, yeah, it can be like I can still be
yeah,
this person, and probably even better
right.
if I just let go of the idea of being this destructive. Like it's a
Yeah,
miracle. Like some, you ever think like, how have I lived this? Like, you know what I mean? We should just like, it was touch and go for a bit there, you know?
dude.
Uh, and
Yeah.
then, but you have. And so now you're like, okay, cool. I can have that past, and
Hmm.
then now just go forward being something totally awesome.
Yeah, it's wild to like, because I remember being, again, 27, like, I think I just used that number because we all have this, like, that,
Yeah.
whatever. Anyway, I remember
Magic.
being
I think mine
around
might be
that,
24, but yeah.
yeah, like, I remember being around that age and thinking, like, there's nothing more I could learn. I'm crushing it on stage. I'm a fucking genius. why isn't this bigger than it is? And now I'm
Right.
37 and I'm going like, I feel like I only am on chapter 5 now or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to read like chapter 32.
Oh yeah.
Like I all of the sudden actually feel like the student,
Yes.
which is odd that it took me 10 years to realize that I have so much fucking more to learn from other people and from myself and from
Mm-hmm.
family and things that are not destructive. You know, like
Yeah.
you don't have to like shorten your life to like get some sort of, I don't know.
I
Anyways,
get it,
like
man.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and it is a weird thing because it's like, but you know what's cool though is that you can look back and go, oh my god, I thought I was sure, but like I have stuff where like I've written down, you know, sometimes I would keep journals like periodically for
right.
I don't know why, but I just would, and I very rarely ever look back, but every now and again, if I'm feeling a certain way about the point of like life I'm in or whatever's going on, I'll look back maybe and try to find the same date a few years back and go, where was I then? Where did I think I had finished? Or I thought was like I had reached
Right.
a point. And then I go, holy shit, between then and now, I've
Yeah,
done so much more cool shit. And then it lets you go, what's around the corner? What's the next thing? I have
yeah,
no
yeah.
idea, but it's exciting.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm with you because I also like don't ever get too excited to like look back. But the exercise you're describing sounds pretty good, actually. I really like that.
Yeah, give it a shot, man. Because that's like I had no
I
idea. I never thought I would be doing anything like this. The idea of sitting behind a desk,
right.
like I liked going on. I mean, I was always on interview shows. I was always on doing like a radio thing or a TV thing. I never thought I'd be sitting at a desk because everybody had like something going on, but because of the what happened and shit, and I was just like, I had the name. I already had Dystopia tonight because I was already I was pitching stuff in LA at the time. So I was already writing like you know, sitcom ideas or just different ideas for TV shit. So I had this name already. And
Yeah.
then I thought it was good. And I was like, I don't want to waste it. And
I love yeah.
I got to use it. So and then it turned into this, and I'm really happy with it. And I'm just like, man,
Yeah.
because
Great.
you ever think like at a point where you're like, I should just fucking stop or what, or something's not working, or what's the point, or whatever the hell it is. And then
I
I'm
mean
like, oh, I wouldn't have done this.
a lot during the pandemic with
Yes.
things that were happening that I was just like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'll go to a like George Floyd and then you're like, okay, so many thoughts and so
Yeah.
many internal conversations happening with yourself, with something that you can do. How should you do it? Things you shouldn't do, or just like the amount of fucking like voices having conversations in your head, and then you're just going like, okay, I'll go to a rally. Cool, I went to a rally, and it's like, then
Same.
I'll come home and I'm like, I should write a song. It's like, what the fuck is this doing for any of the thing
Right.
that's so fucked up that just happened?
Yeah.
And then and then you know, you might feel like a piece of shit for a few days, and then you just, I don't know. At some point, you sort of come out of that and go like, there are like unforeseen people you touch. And I think anytime anyone does something that they're actually passionate and seemingly put here on earth to do,
Mhm.
if you actually follow that, there might, of course, you're going to be able to pick out the things you're not fixing, but like,
Right.
or helping or whatever. But there inevitably will be like positive ripple effects, and you might
Right.
not hear from them. You might not even meet these people.
Yeah.
Now, social media, it's actually kind of like as overwhelming as it can be. You're also like getting touched in the ability to have somebody from like Wisconsin say like, "Hey, just so you know, like this happened to me. Your music allowed me to get through it. I'm alive now because of you." And I don't know that I ever really can process that
Right.
genuinely and go like, how could I really completely understand how to take that? But like, it's I hope I'm not putting my foot in my mouth here, but like long-winded way of just how did I get in this conversation? I guess like I yeah,
No,
sometimes
but I know
that's
what you mean
like
because
why
you're
is this enough? Is this what's the fucking point of us doing this thing? And
right.
then I don't know.
No, it's hard to get into it's I know exactly what you mean because even I talk to like my friends who are not doing any of this, and it's always like the what the point thing comes up, especially as we're all getting older, like a lot more than I'd like to admit. And it's hard to either,
Mhm.
depending on what point in your mental health you are or whatever it is, it's hard to get in and out of that thing, right? But I think the other thing too is juggling your like when somebody says you mean something to them, it's really hard, especially for us who we all have an ego, like we were talking about before. Everybody's had that thing. So maybe your first inclination is be like, I'm a fucking god. You know what I mean? Like where you're like, my music reaches and lifts people up by the collar, and at the same time, you got to balance out and go like, like I'm glad it meant something to you,
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other, and it's totally true though. I'm such like, I easily could have just had comedian friends and people that I knew, just people that I knew on this show, right? And I love talking to comedians. I've known them, I know a lot of them for like ever. But like at the same time, I like music has affected literally, and I know I'm not the only person either. I'm saying this like I'm like, hey, this is a weird idea, but like music has literally.
You're gonna want to write this down.
No one's ever said this before. Oh, music touches the soul. What an inspiring thought. But like, if I think about it, I'm one of those people like because of whatever my brain function is, I always wake up with a song in my head. I know there's like a percentage of people that actually do have music playing and some people that never hear it at all. I'm one of those people who has something in their head from 85 to 2008, whatever it is, blasting in my head at all times. But it really does like I can like literally put I can put a Counting Crows album on. And for some reason that one album, I will go, oh yeah, I was 24 and I was here. And this means this, and this to me to almost every song. And there's shit that just got me through stuff. I just know enough as a performer to not make it. Like, could you imagine if you came on and the first thing I said was, like rhythm and blues, man, that fucking like you'd have been like, ugh.
Yeah. Like,
you know what I mean? Like,
sorry, the internet's really rough today.
Yeah, exactly. But you're like, oh man, it got me through it. Whatever it is, it's so true though. It's a weird. But even the George, like I know what you mean too, because like I was like I'm sure you've had people message you and say like maybe whatever you were saying about a certain topic. Like so when I've always been very verbose when it came to either my opinion. Like I mean, it's easier for comedians to do it because like you expect like we can make a joke out of some bullshit or whatever it is, and then it's we can get away with backing out of it like we were kidding, lols.
You've got a skill set that's super helpful.
And I've like kind of, navigated that. But even like, during COVID and during the George Floyd stuff, when I was like speaking out about that kind of shit, like I wrote for a Newsweek for like a couple times or whatever for a thing, people were messaging me and we're very much like, I can't say what you're saying, but it's helping me get through the insanity because there's just, it is a quiet form of people that are like, my God, I'm living in this bubble and wherever they are in the country, it's not conducive to whatever, but then they find you or they find a song and the lyrics kind of touch them and bring them up. So yeah, I mean, it's probably not great for us to constantly think like, yeah, we're real important, but
you're great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the same way movies affect us when we were younger, like I'm sure there's shit that we cling to, that if we watch to this day, like really soothes us. That's the same thing.
Yeah. It's funny. Recently I was listening to music and it dawned on me like, oh, maybe this is what fans are talking about, because I was like listening to music and I was walking around and it was like, it was less about the song. It's less about me like remembering like how great the song was. It was more like that song was like a time capsule or like a portal where like it allowed me to jump through time and remember like outfit, smell, girlfriend, like where I was. And I was just like, I don't give a shit about the song in all honesty, but without that song, I'm just here now.
Yeah.
It's like a fucking time traveler. And I was just like, and that's not true. I did not give a shit about the song.
No,
it was like the bigger effect was actually what I was remembering about things that I hadn't thought of in years.
Yep.
And it made me appreciate all that I had like, done in life, and it's also like, it reminds you of like, hey, call that person. Like, how are they doing? And it's like all of that came from like the song that is on that record, you pick it up whenever you want. It's just crazy. It really is like a vortex. You can just, woo.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And it's great to hear that you also feel the same way too, because you don't know how other artists feel about other, like, you know what I mean? Like how they're like, if they're just jaded by the scene that they're in and they know it too or whatever. What's funny is when you're having one of those moments and you do make the phone call and you forget that it's in the middle of someone else's day and they're not vibing or feeling.
Yeah. It's like if you ever quit drinking for like 5 days, you're just like, how are you? How are you? Hey, like you're just like, no one else is on your level right now, bro. Like your chemicals are doing things like, good for fucking you. It's 2:30. It's Monday. We have jobs. So like, call me on Saturday, you cunt. Oh, guess what? You won't remember. Sorry.
So fucking true though. I've done the same shit where I'm just like, oh my god, is nobody vibing and feeling this shit?
I really like my mom for watching this, but
yeah. Hey mom. Yeah, man. I feel like I got to ask you about a couple things before, because I don't want to keep you over the hour. I said I was going to keep you, but like producing and stuff like that, when you're working with producers and stuff, did you feel a certain sense of freedom having to do this without maybe? Because I know I've had a bunch of other musicians on who are basically like, not to shit on producers, I know that some of them are really great or whatever, but like they expressed a certain amount of freedom they felt, right? Like being on, like, obviously production of the album is different if you're not really working on that kind of stuff, but maybe not having somebody. Does it feel like for you guys somebody's over you when it's an overly produced thing, and maybe at this point in time is a little freer, or what was the vibe like?
It's funny. I think if you asked every person in this band, you would get a different response, which is like, I think part of why every record of ours is always going to be kind of different.
Right.
For me, I actually find like I love to create chaos, but I like to learn where my boundaries are first.
Okay.
So that like I know like I can be Tasmanian Devil until I see that rock, and if I go further than that rock, I die.
Right.
So like I love having like someone else kind of be in control of the boundaries, or like I can kind of like let go of control and be much more open and honest as an artist. If I think that someone else is paying attention to that, and in real time considering how to react or how to elevate it. And to me, that's what producers do. Musicians can do it, obviously, bandmates can do it, but because of the nature of how isolating everything had to be, like we were all in little like vacuums. So I think even more so than normal was kind of, for me personally, like I said, you could ask somebody else in this band and they'd be like, I fucking hated working with so-and-so. And maybe they wouldn't say that. But like for me, right. I was like, thank God I had spent the last 3 or 4 years before the pandemic, like meeting a lot of different like producers and understanding how they work differently and why.
Right.
So like there's a few different people, 3 or 4 different people we worked with on this record, generally speaking remotely, until a certain point. And for me, to long-winded way of answering your question was, I find it to be, it's like, I find it to be an elevated version of what can also otherwise just sometimes turn into. It makes me think of like a pickup game versus like something that has refs or coaches. Like you lose certain elements that are like real and scrappy, and you might not be able to do that one thing when it's like televised and there's fucking refs calling fouls and there's coaches making sure like you're getting in and like you're considering like the best time to be on the floor for this one thing is that. Like, bear with me, I swear I got a lot of this.
No, you're good, man. You're good. We got
there's something about the professionalism that comes along with somebody who can like keep 6 different personality types and opinions like on the rails. So for me, I love working with producers. Every producer has their own flavor. I mean, like there's a few songs on this record that were done by Andrew Sarlo, and they're night and day difference than like what we did with Jesse Shatkin.
Okay.
And that was intentional. Like we weren't sure how many songs we would do with each producer. That sort of evolved as we started working with these people.
Right.
But like the Andrew Sarlo songs are they're much less perfect. I don't know if that made any sense. They are less perfect. They're less like without a doubt this will work. They're looser. And that maybe appeals to some people. It appeals to me in a certain way, but so does a song like Tiebreaker that is so there's no air. Like it's so perfectly packaged, and I love it. But I love that I also got to do a song like Love We Make, which is just a meandering vibe, if you will.
Yeah.
So I guess I got more freedom out of working with producers because as a person who is thinking like about not only like me in the middle of like writing a song, also like as I'm doing a take, like if I'm gonna fucking do my best shot of all time, like somebody better have fucking seen that.
Oh yeah.
Somebody better have like fucking recorded it,
right?
And somebody better have been like, hey, what if? You know what I mean? Like there want to be a domino effect that is of value to something beyond the idea. So like, I don't just have good ideas for no fucking reason. Like they can help or like someone else. I don't know. Like it's a piece of an interesting thing. Like what I'm doing isn't the end all. It's like, oh my god,
sure.
I'm losing it.
No,
but
I hear you, man.
There's something about making sure that other people are thinking about the other people as well, and making it all work and making it all as interesting as possible.
Right.
Because I'll get so focused that I can't tell if I'm being the best like team member to anyone else, until somebody gives me perspective. So like I find working with producers to be very beneficial in terms of aesthetic and taste and like how you want something to be in terms of slick or raw. Like those are choices you make when you choose to work with certain individuals. And like with anything, like you learn as you put things out, like
sure.
Like so you're publicly making progress and mistakes constantly, and that's your career. And so on this record there's these producers we worked with, and on the next record who knows.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
that's a great way to look at it too. I mean, I think like for especially like because as a stand-up, you're alone most of the time, so you're doing that kind of shit. And I think as I've gotten into it and gotten into other aspects of the entertainment industry and all that stuff, I find myself really appreciating what you were talking about, which is I just love the collaboration. Like in order for me, I know to be like I've got a lot of stuff going on in my head, but I love having either people to center me, bounce stuff off of. And then, but we also, I bet you any amount of money, both know when we need to go a little bit over the top, too. Like when you need to, like you said, do the chaos thing. We're like, all right, I need to fucking cut loose. I need to fuck around a little bit. And somebody will bring me, will go, all right, reel it in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like, you can't, what I love about all of that is like, you can never, that's why I don't think any one individual, you can never take full credit of anything, because nor should that be the fucking focus ever. Like, who gives a shit who did it? Whatever. I don't fucking care if I did it or if you did it or if it was a mixture. It is there now. That's what we want, right? So like, I would not have been able to like, maybe I wouldn't have like if I'm gonna like open myself so much and let the chaos thing start to happen, like if no one's paying attention, if it's not serving the song, then I just did that, and I'm gonna feel so like abandoned after that, because you go deep into yourself sometimes to pull out something. If you want it to be very authentic and real, like it's going to be vulnerability. And so if no one respects that, you just feel abandoned, you feel like a fool, and then you don't want to make those choices again, and then you start diluting your own art. And so I mean, those people who allow you to do things like that are so much part of the puzzle, Like,
absolutely, man.
It's not.
I want to get to a couple of these comments from people that have been watching real quick. So somebody said, head and heart spread positivity all the time. It spreads out beyond you. What you do for yourself is gone when you were gone, and what you do for others lives on. Oh, that was a nice, sweet point.
Nice.
And also, they said their go-to movie was Buckaroo Banzai. I fucking love that movie, Jay.
What is that?
Oh, you've never seen Buckaroo Banzai? Oh my god, dude! It's like I think it came out in like 85. It was supposed to come. I think it was supposed to be like jumping on the sort of Star Wars bandwagon, but like just more out there and more kind of like it takes place on Earth, so it's not like out in whatever. But it's just about this futuristic hero, man, and he's got this awesome 80s like trench coat. The whole thing is super 80s, man. It's like. But it's bizarre and a lot of fun. I think it's on Prime. I just rewatched it with a buddy of mine. It's a blast, dude. It's so weird and beautiful, and I can't believe that it wasn't as big as it was back in the day.
Very cool. Thank you, Jay.
Somebody else would see you at Red Rocks next week.
Yeah, that's coming.
We got a lot of just love the band, love you. We got a comment. Jackie's a long time watch. She said hi. We've got a bunch of people giving us a bunch of other stuff too. So. All right, we're going to wrap up. I'm going to ask you the last 3 questions that I ask every guest on the show. First question is, if you can go back in time and talk to your younger self, what piece of advice would you give yourself to help you today?
Right. Are these on? I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. There's some sweet ambient music, though, playing in the background, which is
I'm now on tour, so...
Oh, that's awesome. No, I really like it. I was like, this is beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Especially since it's like a touching back in time question where it's
Yeah,
like I need the little wave effect to happen and then a little
yeah.
John
This is
Russell, you know, like
this is our opening act for this one show in Tempe. His name is Josh Fudge, and his band is like setting up to do sound check right now.
Oh, very nice, man. That's awesome.
So if I had ever met him, I would definitely run out there and be like, "Give me something sad, or like meaningful. Give me something meaningful."
And a 1 and a 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. And the
No
question
worries.
was,
Oh, if you can go back in time and talk to your younger self at any age, what piece
yeah,
of advice would you give yourself that would help you today?
yeah, um, yeah. I think it's funny. Like one of the things that I always, I, for whatever reason, I think at a young age, I thought I had kind of figured out a lot of things, which gives you
Mm.
a certain amount of confidence, but also a certain amount of, it kind of can keep you from searching further. I do wish that I would have like listened to somebody earlier on and been like, hey, like, I just think that maybe you could use a little bit of a therapist. Like, like maybe it would help you to like talk about these things
Yeah.
with a professional instead of just like learning the hard way through relationships what
Right.
not to do, based on these cycles that whether you realize it or not, you are in.
Yeah.
So going back to younger version of myself, I guess it's funny. I mean, you don't want to tell like a 10-year-old, hey man, like you should get a therapist. Although I guess that happens. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I guess
It's a good point, though. I mean, the therapy thing is one of those things. I think we all kind of wonder at some point in our lives who we would be if we had some third party to kind of talk to and lay our shit down on, you know?
yeah,
Not that we're bad versions of ourselves now, but man, the fucking
yeah,
process, like how long,
right.
does it take to go through this shit?
Yeah, my process was definitely, on the flip side though, the interesting thing is to me, like my attempt at that was journaling. I
Oh,
think earlier
nice.
when we spoke, you'd mentioned
Yeah.
journaling as well, which I definitely had somewhat of my version of that. I think, however, um, I would use them in ways of more of like observations that I would have, which in a
Mm.
way led to poetry, which then led to songwriting. So it's like
Nice.
I was kind of using somewhat of a therapeutic method, but it almost without knowing it was always kind of being curated or crafted as a craft, I guess.
Hmm.
And so therefore it wasn't always just like, and it wasn't, nobody was repeating it back to me. So it's not like I was actually getting,
Right.
you know, anyways.
No, that's cool though, man. I actually like that because a lot of people actually talk about like, they'll either tell them to be easier on themselves and stuff like that. I think you're the first person that's ever said, I probably needed help.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
which is perspective, man, which is
I love
that's
my parents. They did the best they could,
yeah.
Um,
Isn't it crazy to think
yeah,
that like because we both said we didn't have kids and stuff like that, but it is weird to me, even in this day and age, to look back and I constantly wonder how my parents fucking did it. Like more,
yeah.
I'm stunned. I got nothing.
Mhm.
Like it's a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, the amount of sacrifices that I have very lucid memories of them making for me,
Hmm.
when you're at an age between 12 and 20, you don't necessarily like they don't seem good at like as much as they did. It still doesn't seem like it was good enough. Like
Right.
I've still found ways of being jaded and resentful and
Yep.
hurt, traumatized. And it's like, like, gosh, they did so much.
Right.
That's just the human condition. So
Absolutely. It's
talking is
cyclical.
helpful, like what you're doing right now is helpful for people.
Thanks,
So
man.
yeah.
Second question is a little deeper. What had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you to where you are today?
Yeah. I mean, I can think of a few pivotal moments, but to be honest with you, I think one of the most current ones is maybe the most felt by those around me and myself. Something happened during, I think a very humbling thing happened when, as an artist during the pandemic, it's just a little more human feeling and a little more like this might not return. And it just kind of rattled me in ways where, and at the same time, having time to like actually watch footage of us. Like we have our own documentary on on Amazon where we shot like our concert from Pike Place Market, and there's all these interviews. Right. And when I'm constantly touring, like I can't watch stuff like that. It's just, it rattles my brain too much to like feel confident the next day on a show. Mm-hmm. So I had more time to sort of like get caught up on what we actually did in the last 10 years. And I just started noticing things that I wish I would have done better or differently. So I think my career had to end for me to be where I am now. Like I just feel like I'm approaching. You can hear him on tour. I'm
yeah,
back.
That's great. Yeah, I like that. That's great.
I feel very fortunate for that. And
beautiful.
There's something different about me, and I don't know. I just feel like the petty things, I kind of laugh them off. And the things where I didn't necessarily take the opportunities to connect with individuals like that come to these concerts and these shows mean the world to them. I don't know that I necessarily was open enough for them. So
right.
That's been a big change. And I enjoy this like every single day now.
Yeah, man.
So
that's great, dude. That's actually like a good point too. It's kind of like if you're looking for a silver lining, you know, for this whole lockdown situation thing, being kind of humbled by your profession, by being outside of it is a good way to go.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. And we were talking about it before earlier in the show about just having, because I got to tell you, man, hearing you say and talk about how, you know, listening to a song and music affects you and bringing it back and, you know, or whatever. Because you don't, I mean, I'm a comedian. So like, I don't know if it's the same for musicians because I don't always, I'm assuming it is, but I never want to assume that other musicians appreciate and absorb music because you can do it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's the same way where you're watching, like when comedians watch other comedians, we appreciate it. But sometimes it's hard to turn off that other brain where you're like, I know where this trick is going, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it's cool that you can still kind of really appreciate it and let a song take you back to a different place.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I do have to also struggle with like turning off the brain and going like, let me guess. And now's the chorus, you know? However, there are, I think maybe it's music. It's mostly music that I was, you know, exposed to before I became a musician. And there was a lot of it. So, you know, like, it's because I think it's, like I said earlier, it's like the memory that's attached to that song more so than what the song is necessarily doing.
Yes.
Wow. I'm kind of realizing maybe that's why I'm constantly obsessed with music from my past.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Could be.
Yeah. How much are you per hour? I forgot. How much time do I have left with you in this therapy session?
We could just keep going. We'll just, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do this every week. I'm going to have my people contact your people and we'll just set this up and we'll record some of them and with some of them we won't. Yeah, we'll just have a good cry. This kind of stuff has been great in a weird way. It's been great for me too, because it's not anything I ever thought I was going to do. Didn't really want to, I like being on shows, but I didn't want to do my own. And now I find that like when it's gone, I'm like, I want to talk to people that I admire, that I don't know, that I want, you know, because it's really the other thing too, is like, you don't realize how much, like one of the things I'm kind of working on, and I can cut this part out too, but just so you know, like what I love is like, there's a common thread, whether all of us know it or not, in this business, entertainment, whatever we wind up doing. It's very, very crazy because it's like you wouldn't even realize how much you have in common with somebody who is, you know, 30 years your senior in this business to now to young people. Like the amount of shit everybody goes through is so eerily similar. It's wild, man.
Right.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And the last question, which is a staple of the show, it's a lot of fun, is if this was a genuine dystopia and you had your choice between like an alien, zombies, comet heading toward the Earth, climate change, weird shit coming out of the ocean, whatever it is, but everybody knows it's their last day on the planet. How are you going out? What's going to be your epic death?
So like you find out like in the morning, like I have like a whole day kind of vibe?
Yeah, you have a whole day. You wake up in the morning and you know, boom, you know what's going on.
I'm just wondering like how quickly I could like charter, like just take all my savings and just like charter a boat, take as many of my friends, stock it with everything we want, and just head out to sea. And just, you're not worried about turning around.
Nice.
just
No.
with all your homies.
Wow, that's a great one. No one's ever fucking said that before. I've never heard it go out to
My
sea.
wife would be there, of course. My mom would be, almost like Noah's Ark. I don't know.
Right.
Full circle.
Except you just skip the two of everything thing. You're like, you know what? We're kind of full.
One of everything.
Yeah.
It's more efficient.
Just two of every bottle of tequila.
Nice, but not that nice. I can't afford two of everything.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Yeah, I know, right? Go right, show off,
Yeah.
No, that's fucking great, man. I love that. What do you know what would be happening? Do you have a vision? Is it gonna be like aliens or zombies or some shit? Like, what do you think is gonna be?
I'm kind of imagining more of like a, there would be like dogs and cats and birds and monkeys and shit, like kind of Noah's Arky, but like just friends and family members just
nice
champagne and eating caviar and like smoked salmon and fresh seafood.
Ooh, smoked salmon. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna get everything that I like. It's like Last Supper, Noah's Ark, but only with people that I like.
That's beautiful. You know what's going to be great is that
I have a lot of friends and family, so it's gonna be a lot of people.
I hear you, man. What's going to be great is now that I know this, and if we do find out it's the end of the world, you're gonna be loading stuff and your friends onto a boat, and you're gonna say something to the captain, and the captain's gonna be me. I'm just gonna whip around and be like, "You ready to go, buddy?"
Yeah. Oh my gosh! And that's the start of the movie that you're writing now.
Exactly, and it's Captain Ron 2.
Yes. Oh man.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I had a blast talking to you.
Thank you for everything, man. It's been absolutely a pleasure, and when we pass through your neck of the woods, which I believe we do on this tour, let's get up.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, we'll hang out. It'll be a blast.
Cool.
All right, cool. All right.
Dystopia tonight.